All right. Well, hello everybody. Kevin Crye. I'm sitting here with my new good friend and fellow supervisor Chris Kelstrom. This is the first of what I believe will be many video podcasts that we're going to put out. My radio show every other Sunday wound up being something that I wanted to do more often because I think more things happen than it warrants definitely more than every 2 weeks. So I wanted Chris, you to be my first guest, and let's start off and just like, how are you doing?
Oh, every day's an adventure. I mean,
It's an adventure.
I often wonder what we got ourselves into, but
Yeah, I'm asked pretty often. I'd say like once a month. People would say like, how long have you known Chris? I said, actually, I just met him during the just the campaign season.
it's been a year and a half.
Yeah, about a year and a half. But it's odd though because you've been in Shasta County so long. I've been in Shasta County so long. You're a I guess you could say once an athlete, always an athlete. But you being a former Shasta College player and me being a coach and played baseball at Simpson. But I'm surprised we never crossed paths.
Yeah, you're probably a decade younger than me, I think.
I'm way younger. I know I look 30 years younger.
So you were probably a little snot-nosed kid coming into Discount Foods in Anderson back in 1987 when I was managing the store.
I did go to Discount Foods, but
Did I ever catch you shoplifting or anything?
no, you never caught me shoplifting.
I never caught you.
Yeah, you would have caught me. I was a short little heavyset kid, so that would have been very doable. But so let me ask you. So we've been in office now about 10 months. What do you feel like has been your greatest accomplishment, or what are you most proud of?
Probably most proud of sticking to my guns, and that's kind of the thing. I think that's what drives the other side crazy is that
Literally or figuratively sticking to your guns?
Actually, figuratively. So yeah, literally, I can't stick to my guns anymore because So,
But yeah, so like I know one of your things that you ran on was term limits, and that's obviously going to the voters.
Yep.
And
And surprisingly, we get opposition to that, which is just insane. I mean, they have to speak. The same half dozen people or dozen people have to speak on every single thing. And that meeting that day, I'm like, it's a simple yes/no vote. If you don't like them, vote no.
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
do like them, vote yes. But we have to come up here and berate us for 3 minutes apiece on what they think of term limits. Then vote no and move on with your life. But it's so frustrating.
Yeah. For me, one of the things I ran on was really local control, transparency, and curbing and doing. Eliminating homelessness like that's not going to happen. There's people definitely that we can help along the way, but it's never going to end, especially in California. But
I remember early on when we first got elected, or after you were first elected, I don't know if we were seated yet, or we had a discussion, and you said, what are you going to concentrate on? I'm like, I'm going to concentrate on water and fire, getting water in that ACID canal and fire, reducing the fire risk in our areas, such as Happy Valley and Shingletown, which are high fire dangers and stuff. That's what I concentrate on, and term limits. And you said, I want to concentrate on mental health and homeless. And I'm thinking, thank the Lord, because that is a complicated mess that, in fact, you've done it to me. Somebody's come to you and say, I'm having a problem with the building department, or I'm having a problem with whatever, and you send them to me.
Yeah.
And I have people, hey, I know this person that needs home and they're homeless, and then I'm like, go to Kevin Crye. Yeah. Talk to him.
It's definitely, there's a lot of good organizations and a lot of good people, but there's definitely a lot of room for improvement, and we're making those strides for sure. But the local control part for me, with the county charter, I'm excited about that. I'm excited, and when you think about it, we're two new supervisors, new to politics, really, and we're both going to have things. Yours has already been voted on and going to a ballot. Obviously the charter county, decision that still has to go to the board to get approved, but I'm bringing that back. I believe the 31st with the draft that I would like to see go to the voters. So, local control is very important, and we're getting stuff done. And I think what gets lost, there are things that we want, but we both say put it to the voters.
Yeah.
Like let the people decide.
100%. It's like the Palo Sealer thing I have this weekend. It's like,
You're welcome for that, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. Are you going to, no, you can't be there. It's a Brown Act violation. Yeah, lucky you, huh?
Well, but again, I think people's voice needs to be, need to be heard. And that's where, and I think that's the whole thing as we get into like the voting and elections and hand count stuff. I think, the basis for everything I believe in our country is like, hey, we just have to know that we feel heard. Like in any relationship, or if you're on a team, if you're not playing and you're frustrated and you go to the coach and they blow you off, then that's not going to help. But if you actually feel like the coach hears you and is giving you a shot, and hey, I mean, you're not always going to agree, but at least if you feel heard, like that's what I think we want. And with our vote, like I knocked on so many doors that people said, I don't even vote anymore because it doesn't matter. And that was really disheartening, because you think, geez, there's so many people that probably align with how I feel, that as I was walking doors in, especially specific neighborhoods, and knowing that they, that their voice does matter and does need to be counted. It's tough. So eliminating every roadblock to why somebody wouldn't want to vote is really important to me.
Yep.
Do you, so let me ask you this. So you were at Manton's, you were at the Manton Apple Festival.
Manton Apple Festival. For some reason, I always get tongue-tied on that and say the Apple Manton Festival. But anyways, the Manton Apple Festival, yes.
So, and then, Shingletown, and then you have Cottonwood, Anderson.
And Happy Valley.
So you have 5 like very distinct, different
Absolutely.
Parts of your district. So what's that like? Because, Reading, District 1 is like Reading. It's like, you have Lake Boulevard Reading, you have Eureka Way Reading, but it's Reading, and so like, tell me, like, is it like Shingletown versus Manton versus Happy Valley? I'm sure there's conflicting things, like, and obviously parades.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, those 5 districts, and like, or not districts, but those 5 communities, and how you spread yourself out in that way.
So Manton is a lot like a Cottonwood, because half of it's Tehama County, half of it's Shasta County.
And you actually have part of Palo Cedro too.
Very small little portion, yeah.
A little bit on Deschutes.
Yeah, okay. Somewhere down there. I mean, I used to have all Millville used to always be in mine, but then it got moved around and da-da-da. So at the end of Silver Bridge Road on the, I guess, north side used to be in it, because it's up towards Millville, but yeah, it's totally different now. Now it's, but I don't really have Palo Cedro. I have parts of Deschutes, yeah.
Okay,
on
so
the
like
outskirts.
Anderson,
well, of course, that's one of the things we're going to discuss this weekend is what is Palo Cedro? Where is Palo Cedro? How far down Deschutes does it go? How far towards Bella Vista does it go? How far up the freeway towards Reading does it go? And how far out towards Millville does it go? I mean, that's one of the things that has to be decided. So
tell me a little bit about having the 5 different, let's say, communities. And then that balancing act, not of just helping the constituents, but like just the different dynamics in each community.
Yeah, so Shingletown doesn't trust any Flatlanders. I mean, they don't trust any Flatlanders.
Are we Flatlanders in Reading?
Absolutely.
I just want to make
from
sure
Shingletown's perspective, you better believe it. Yeah,
okay.
They're up on the hill. They look down on you. Yeah. So, but they don't trust any Flatlanders, which is understandable, because every 3.5 years they get somebody up there that listens to them, makes them promises, does things for them, and then as soon as the election's over, they don't see them for 3.5 more years. Trish Clark used to be pretty good at going up there. She has some pretty good ties to the community up there, but I mean they get ignored. They get and they don't trust people from the flatlands. So my in with Shingletown was really good, because I was married into one of the founding families up there. So I'd always ask them, there's a lake across the road, and I'd say, during a debate or something, I'd say, what's the name of that lake over there? Well, the old timers that lived there, it's called Woodbridge Lake now, but the old timers that lived there knew what it's called. So they would say the last name of my, former in-laws, and I'd say, that's right, what that lake's called. And I said, I was married into that family for 27 years. So then they'd be like, he's not quite one of us, but close enough.
Yeah.
So I mean, Shingletown is.
You're
great.
not in the club, but you're allowed to visit.
And the fact that unlike other politicians, I'm still got ties to the community. I still go up there. In fact, this weekend I have 2 breakfasts. I always have 2 breakfasts the second Saturday of every month. So I go to the Anderson VFW, and I can't miss that breakfast. It's Anderson VFW. I mean, those veterans are the greatest people in the world. But then I go up the hill because it's a volunteer fire department breakfast too. So I always have 2 breakfasts every second Saturday of the month. And there's a bunch of little old ladies in each one of them that if I don't eat, it's going to be a problem. Yeah. So I mean, I have to go to each one of them and I have to eat. I can't say, I'm not hungry today, because none of that does not go over well. So they're great. And then Happy Valley is just awesome too, because they were in Leonard Mody's district for years, and they never voted for him. He never represented them. I mean, they never had a relationship with him. They were not fond of him. And prior, Erwin Futz used to be their representative, and they weren't real wild about him either. So I mean, they don't really trust. I mean, they get ignored all the time. They've been ignored forever. I mean, it burns down every single year.
Yeah.
And they have issues with their water. Their water district has major issues out there and stuff. So I mean, they've been ignored forever. And it just so happens when they put that in my district, the last grocery store I managed was out in Happy Valley in like 2001, I think it was. So I knew a lot of the people out there,
Yeah.
and I was just at a meeting out there. Went to a like a crime prevention type meeting on a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
So again, they're not getting ignored. I mean, I'm there. I'm going out there. So yeah, my areas are very different. I mean, my opponent was the mayor of Anderson, so Anderson's the biggest voting block in the entire district. But I was able to get all the other outlying areas and enough of
Well,
Anderson to
I think, yeah,
overcome
and
it.
that's an interesting point because I know your opponent was the mayor of of the main city of your district, and my opponent in my election was the mayor of the main city, well, the city in my district, which is Reading, and it's the one thing that's been really interesting to me as it relates to politics is been just how little people actually do. I don't want to say the research, but just and again, I'm this is going to sound really just I don't want to say ignorant, but just almost like my head's in the clouds. Like I've been really shocked at how little people take time to get to know people or issues or things going on as it relates to voting. And as I was knocking on doors, especially in the general versus the primary, because the primary, I just squeaked in, and of course, in the general, it wasn't, landslide Crye is, by 90 votes, but it just took more time to get to know more people to push it, as far as it did, and that's the one thing is just people, they hear something and they just jump at it. So when you're running against a former mayor or a person that has a lot of connections, you got to do a lot of work to talk to a lot of people and just say, hey, like what you're hearing is this. And, yeah, anyway, you just brought up a good point about like, because we both really, like, as you look back, I mean, the decks were absolutely
We
stacked
and you
against
never
us.
know what's going to get them. So when during the campaign, I was still working and had the radio on in the truck and doing my job, and one of my ads came on, and I'm
Yeah.
listening to my ad, and I'm like, okay, well, this truck pulls up next to me, and this guy had the same station on. I'm like, hey man, did you hear that ad? And he's all, what? And I go, the ad on the radio that just played. You're listening to KQMS, right? And he's like, yeah. I go, you didn't hear that ad a minute ago? And he goes, no, I don't really listen to that kind of stuff. I don't really pay attention. And I go, you know how much money I spend on that and you don't pay attention? And then he kind of looks at me funny and I go, I'm just giving you a hard time. I said, but that was my ad. I said, I'm
Yeah.
running for office. And he goes, and then he turns out he lives in Shingletown. And he goes, well, I like this guy I saw on TV. It said he's not a politician. I go, that's me. That's my ad. And he's like, oh, yeah, I told my wife, hey, come in here and listen to this. I'm going to vote for that guy. So you
Yeah.
never know. I mean, here I got a radio ad playing when he's listening to it in his truck, and he doesn't hear that, but he sees it on the TV, and he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I had somebody else the other day. I ran into him, and we were actually having a beer, and he's telling me, he goes, yeah, and he was one of the founding families in Shingletown too. And he goes, yeah, he goes, I love that ad where, whiskey's for drinking and, water's for fighting over. And I'm like, yeah, he goes, yeah, you got me with that one. And then I said, well, I had another Mark Twain quote too in one of my ads that said, politicians and diapers need to be changed often and for the same reason. And he goes, I remember that. I like that too. So, you never know what's going to get to them.
Yeah.
And that was me with my ads. It was like, everything wasn't just, hey, vote for me, I'm a great guy. This
Yeah.
is what is broken, and this is how I'm going to
Yeah.
fix it. And this is what's broken, this is how I'm going to fix it. And this is what's wrong, and I'm going to fix it. And I got enough of them out there, obviously, and got enough to people that,
Yeah.
they put trust in me.
One thing, and this is as you talk about the Manton Apple Festival, but I think what disrupted the apple cart for me in my district is, Reading has notoriously been, the tail that wags the dog, so to speak. I mean, Reading proper obviously is large. It's, a great number of people. The city council there, I mean, they oversee the airport, and you've got the Greater Reading Chamber of Commerce, which is, from a business perspective, has been kind of that lead group, although the Shasta County Chamber now is launched. And I think that that's going to be a huge and great thing, because really we're best when we're a county working together and everybody collaborating. And one thing for me, I ran and said, like, I've been a uniter my entire life in terms of bringing different groups together, whether as an agent, as a coach, as an athletic director. And, you just have to constantly just know that in leadership positions, not everybody's going to agree with agree with maybe your method or how you got there. But what's nice is in business and in politics and in life and in families, you could look at the body of work and say, look, like for me as a business, you have good years, you have bad years, you make mistakes, and then you move forward and hopefully you get stronger. And I'm proud of the work we're doing at the county right now. I feel like a lot of, or not even just I feel, a lot of employees are really, really positive, and I think there's seasons for everything, and I'm excited about the direction we're headed. But let's do this. Let's take a 1-minute break, and when we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit more about what you see in the political climate where we are. And just some things that you think maybe collectively our county could start rowing towards to be more unified in I guess tamping down the vitriol and just moving forward to get some things done. So with that, we'll be right back. All right, we're back with Supervisor Kelstrom, and before the break, we talked about talking a little bit about how what you think are some things that maybe we could do or could be done with just the political climate, or is it just like pie in the sky to think it's ever going to calm down a little bit?
Yeah, the political climate, it's like I've had some talks with, some patriot groups and stuff. We had a big thing in Cottonwood, which of course, blew up or ended up being a controversy there too. But anyhow, but I've told them it's like, the meetings, we get the same 15 or 20 people that spend 3 minutes on every single subject. Doesn't matter what it is. If Susie Brown's getting an award for not calling in sick for 5 years, they have something to say about it. And it's like, it's the same people. So when you look at our room out there, I mean, I can see there's as many, and I'll just call them patriots. I mean, I'm not necessarily all conservatives. They're just American loving, good working people. And you'll see them sitting out there, and they're sitting there. They're on their hands. A few of them every now and then will speak on 1 or 2 items. A few of them, most of them don't say anything at all. And then you get the same 15, 20 people that 3 minutes on every single subject. Doesn't matter what it is. And so at the halfway through the meeting, you've got 5 hours of just browbeating and berating, and again on anything. Term limits is the simplest thing. If you like them, vote yes. If you don't like them, vote no.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to speak about them. We got to tell you guys how stupid you are, and and it's like, so it's frustrating because you see how the very small vocal minority, wins so often because they are well organized, they're vocal, they spend their 3 minutes on every single item, no matter what it is. And then our group, and I tell the big patriot group down in Cottonwood when we had the meeting, I said, listen, I know you guys all have businesses, you have jobs, you have families, you have homes to take care of, animals to feed, kids to raise. I understand all that, but you can send an email, you can make a phone call, you can, you can do something, because let me tell you now, and I think that's what drives the other side even crazier, because there's 3 of us that they can't change, and
that's the thing. And I know your heart, so I know exactly what you mean. And for me, I feel like, when we talk about us and them, I really feel like, well, they're all ours. I know that. And I think this is why term limits are so important. Is I actually had one of of my detractors to the Ninja Gym last week, and we sat and talked for over an hour, and I think it was really positive. But the reason why I say I think term limits are important is once a person just says, I'm done listening to them, I'm done trying to do that work, and I'm done trying to, meet, not necessarily halfway, but at least hearing them, that's when you got to get out. And I know after almost, now 10 months, I couldn't imagine doing this for, 10 years,
16
12 years,
years.
16, 20 years. There was a supervisor in District 1 for 20 years. It's like, man, politics isn't meant to be a career. It's meant to, you do your time.
Especially
And
local politics, exactly.
especially local politics, and I've really tried to just look forward and, not look so much at what's been done in the past, but at some point you do have to look at what's been done in the past so you can, help people educate like how we got to where we are and how we can keep from ever going here again in terms of, and that's why I think transparency is so
I was to say
important.
earlier you brought up the word transparency, and it kind of made me smirk because it's like, man, did you ever think it would be this dark and dank and thick? And
Yeah,
I mean,
well-
every time you peel back a layer of the onion, there's another there's another tie, there's another, this person did that, and this, oh my gosh, it just
Well, closed session. I mean, if people could watch, just and I know there's been many, but just some of our closed sessions and the conversations that are in there with the supervisors that would never say the things publicly, not because it's closed session, but because and when they have their true feelings in a closed room, and then they have their true feelings out on a dais or on a board. It just makes my stomach turn.
Well, that Record Searchlight, lawsuit, for instance, I mean, and it goes into closed session, and from the Record Searchlight looking from the outside in, what they saw is they won a lawsuit. We were going to discuss it at a closed session, and the information didn't come out. So they wrote the article that apparently we voted against it, or we didn't want it to come out, or whatever. And of course, there was people in that room that absolutely did not want that information to come out. But what was frustrating to me on that one is I had some people reach out to me going, hey, what's going on? Because this article doesn't make you look very good. It looks like you're trying to hide some stuff or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I can't really give you any details. I can't really talk a whole lot about it. But you know me well enough to know that is not how it worked. That is not how it went down. I can't give you details. And the patriots that reached out to me were like, yeah, we knew there was more to the story. But I had a couple of them that were just running their mouths, and I, so we had a meeting in Cottonwood, and I kind of brought that up, and I said, listen, you're going to question my integrity on something you read in the Record Searchlight. I started out by, I was like, hey, how many people here, like the Record Searchlight? And I mean, not a hand went up. And I said, so there's people in this room that question my integrity on something they read in the Record Searchlight. I said, how lame can you be? I mean, and then I kind of went and chewed their tails a little bit, because it's like,
well, that's but that's exactly why I'm going to start putting out more videos, and whether they get 10 views or they get 10,000, I mean, people need to have access, and that's when I ran on transparency, that's why I did a radio show. That's why I started it back up after, and I got a lot of other things when I'd say I'd rather do on a Sunday, it's or here, on a Thursday, filming this, but I think it's important if we're going to be in the public eye or the public view, that we've got to talk about subjects that people want to hear about, because who has time to be at an 8 or 10 hour board meeting? I mean, there's so many people, as you know, that have such great ideas and things to say, but they just won't go sit through public comment, and they won't go sit through that stuff. And that's why I think the more we can educate people with, whether they be town halls, or you're going to being in parades or pie eating contests, or I'm sorry, a judge, not a pie eating contest, and just making ourselves available. I think that's what's really important. And I know there's in March, there's districts 2, 3, and 4, which are going to have campaigns. And of course, I'm not running. I mean, there's no candidate against the recall, but there's the recall on the ballot. So, this is a critical time for Shasta County, because the entire board, 1 year from today, could look
entirely different.
Well, let's just say in a year, I mean, depending on how the recall goes. But then, of course, you have and there's a lot of educating, a lot of educating the public that needs to happen, and and just sifting through the rhetoric. And I can say that now, because we've both been through campaigns, and you say things that that are just hot button lines, or something that grabs attention. But then when it really gets down to it, like, there's the work that has to happen. And that's, again, where I'm really proud of, the things that the ad hoc committee is doing as it relates to, outreach and mental health and getting all the people at the table that we are. I know that you're dealing with the Fountain Wind stuff. I mean, there's a lot of big pressing issues.
Yeah, the Fountain Wind, and that's another thing. I mean, look at what the state of California is doing to Shasta County. I mean, they're trying to take away our sovereignty, our independence, every chance they get. I mean, the previous board of supervisors voted down the windmill project, which was great, and then not only that, but they changed the entire county to where it's not zoned for commercial industrial windmills.
The planning commission was against it first.
It was great, and it was a great move. And then California goes and passes, AB 205 and 209. It just says, we don't care what you guys say. We're going to put our wind farms and sun farms wherever we want, our solar farms anywhere we want, and the counties have no say in that. And I mean, there's so many things that happen with Shasta County. The whole voting thing. I mean, we got rid of the machines, and all of a sudden, we're going to pass a law. You can't get rid of machines unless you have another voting system in place. And while we're trying to put our voting system in place, they write another law that says, by the way, that voting system you're trying to put in place is illegal now. I mean, it's like, and people, you'll get the emails too, where it's like, you guys, and it's like, does not make you think, why is the state fighting so hard to try to control Shasta County? Why are they fighting us as hard as they're fighting us?
Well, I think one reason, because Shasta County, we are a very proud community and have been for a really, really long time. I mean, my family, my wife's family moved here to build, the dam. And, my family came here in the late 70s from Orange County. I remember my dad saying when he got off the plane in Sacramento from Anaheim, he felt like he stepped on the sun because it was like 116 that day because he had an interview at Red Bluff High School. But anyway, there's and I would consider myself somewhat a newbie a little bit because there's a lot of people that have lived here 80, 90 years. Like you talk about, like there's a lady Shelby who lives out in Igo or Igo Ono, and I think she said she's like a fifth or sixth generation Shasta County. I mean, that's going way back.
Tenacious young lady too.
Yeah, you're talking like late 1800s, And and Igo, there's another example. Like when we talk about, I know we're bouncing on topics,
Right.
but when we talk about like representing the whole county and bringing people together, that's where I think public comment's really important. And of course, you are for public comment as well. But if Brian, the gentleman that came up and brought up the whole Zog Fire thing, like and I think there's a lot of things in the works, and that has raised a lot of red flags, and there's a lot happening, I know, behind the scenes. So I'll be curious to see how that shakes out, and that just comes from somebody coming up in public comment, and I know you've been involved out there now too. And
Absolutely.
What has there been anything that you've that's really just surprised you since you've been in office, like that you didn't see coming, or you didn't?
I knew the vitriol would be bad. I mean, I'd watched it happen with, Patrick Jones when he was on the Reading City Council. And I remember I used to, read Record Searchlight articles or, different things. And I'd be like, no, what are you doing? I mean, that guy had integrity. When we were 7 years old, he had integrity. We didn't know what the word meant, but he had integrity back then, and it's like, he's always been true to himself and, and standing for the right thing. So I'd read these articles. I'd be like, that they got him all wrong. But of course, right and wrong doesn't matter to them. It's you got to stick to the narrative. So I knew there would be a lot of that. I mean, in fact, I remember telling my boy, I'm like, okay, when I'm running for office, I said, it won't be too bad when I'm running. I said, but once I get elected and once I start doing the things that need to be done, I said, it'll get pretty bad. I mean, they're going to, say all sorts of stuff about me. They're going to, make up all sorts of stuff about me. They're going to exaggerate stuff about me. Can you handle that? And he's like, yeah, Dad. And I said, okay. I said, well, we have the same last name, so I mean, it's not that common. And he goes, no. He goes, if they make up lies about you, I'll be able to deal with it. I goes, I'll know their lies. And I said, okay. I want to run this past you because, so I knew that it would be, I knew how it was going to be. Did I think it would be as bad as it is? Probably not. But I think it's as bad as it is because they can't change us. They can't. There's three of us. They can't change. I mean, let's face it. There's another guy they did change already. I mean, it's they browbeat him until he's submitted. And,
Yeah.
it's sad, but
I will say, if you watch, I think it was the Red, White, and Blueprint, because I just went
Yeah.
back and watched all 8 episodes about a month ago, just
did
because I was
too.
curious, because I hadn't watched them really like ever. I wasn't involved until like right before it was like, I declared to run. I think it was early November of 21. So I don't think I watched my first episode of Red, White, and Blueprint until like maybe into December. And then, then the recall of Leonard Modi was in February. So when I had watched it before, I was still meeting people. And then even all the way through the primary in June, I was still kind of meeting people because we were all just doing our own thing. There was a lot of races being ran. And so going back and watching them now, I was like, hey, I see that person. Hey, I see that person. Oh, that person was involved way back then. I had no idea. I thought they were kind of new. And but if you watch, I think it was episode 5 or 6 where they had the Cottonwood,
debate.
the forum.
Yeah, Legion Hall.
Yeah, and they had all the people running in District 2 for the recall. I mean, they had Tarek and just. And then
Dale Ball.
And then it was you and I for the only people that showed up for 1 and 5, and then of course
Colt Roberts showed up for 5.
Tim. Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. Colt was there. I'm sorry, but you go back and watch that, and you watch, and I was very keen to watch like Tim, you and I, because obviously all of us won. And I went back and it was like as a coach watching game film, just hitting rewind and rewind and rewind.
Yeah, that draft pick was a bust.
Well, but yeah, and it's not about disparaging anybody, but it's like you watch the 3 of us and everything I said, it's like, yep, that's, I mean, and maybe we'll even do that. Maybe I'll even post that if I can get permission or the rights from Amazon or whoever has that streaming, or maybe I'll ask the Red, White, and Blueprint team. But you just watch that, and there you go. And that's what people don't have the luxury of when new candidates are running. They don't have the opportunity to see, like, is this person going to stick to their guns, or is this person really true to their word and what they say? And,
I just watched it. I was seeing somebody that is non-political. When you mention people don't vote and whatever, and I mean, and it was great because it was kind of my oasis, my way to get away from all this stuff. But she had never seen those, and we started watching them one night, and it was like, I mean, it brought back a lot of memories. But I mean, you're right. You see in there, it's like, there's 2 of us in that show that haven't changed a bit, and it's like looking back and looking how we got here, because we both got here because we're sick of politics. We're sick of politicians. We're sick of lies. We're sick of the murkiness, the non-transparency. I mean, we were both sick of that for different reasons. COVID brought out a lot of stuff. I'd thought about running for a while, for a few years. I don't think you ever did, but I mean, I thought about it for a while. But you watch that Red, White, and Blueprint, and it just kind of relives everything. Where it was like, our fellow patriots or friends of ours now and are outside the board chambers and screaming with bullhorns through the glass because they're not being listened to. COVID was a great way for those current politicians back then to say, we never really wanted to listen to you anyways, so now we have an option that we don't have to.
Yeah, I really, and watching actually some of that was interesting, because now that I sit up there, like my heart, it's going to sound like maybe cheesy, but like my heart was like breaking for the people outside, like watching that, thinking, man, like that was a very, I was never scared, but it was a very uncertain time, and for me, I just kind of shrugged, because when COVID happened, it was like, man, I had a live event company, I had a fitness company, I had, as an agent, worked with people that made a living off of sports and large group gatherings, and then I had a brick and mortar gym. So I just kind of laughed and shrugged and said, "All right, Lord, like everything I've worked to build and do is like done. So I guess I'll just go on walks with my wife." But when I saw people outside who needed leadership and who needed that, and they weren't getting it, that was tough.
And what's funny is those people outside, and I would have been one of them, except I always had to work on Tuesdays. But those people outside, it's like, and myself included, what we were trying to say, what we were trying to tell people, ironically, has all come true. I mean, we were told we were going to kill grandma. We were going to spread this thing. If we just gave them 2 weeks, they could stop the spread. Blah blah. All the lies and all this stuff. And we tried to tell people masks don't work. Masks don't work. That mask is useless. And then it takes 3 years, but the CDC comes out and says, yeah, the masks really don't stop a virus.
For me, it's never even been. It's just always been about personal choice.
100%.
Whether the masks work or not or whatever. Like I just think, and I know we're just about out of time, and I'll wrap it up with this. Like, I think the most important thing about this current board majority, we'll just say, is we very much believe it's about the people and their own choice to make their best decisions for them and their family.
The Constitution limits government's intrusion onto people. Not the government is not supposed to run people. The people run the government.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the message that I've really got to again. Like, I've been campaigning essentially for about 2 years now, which is crazy. But the thing that I'm grateful for is I haven't had to change, nor would I change, but I haven't had to change who I am and what I believe. And it's always been about local control. You take care of you and your family first. I'm not saying that you're not, people shouldn't be philanthropic or look to help their fellow man, but when people can really just focus on themselves and take care of themselves, it makes life a lot easier. And then, I think it is our job in government, in the positions we're in, to help those that aren't able to help themselves. But we're in a world now where a lot of people can help themselves, and they just choose not to because they expect other people to do it. So, Chris, look, man, I really appreciate you being my first guest, taking the morning to spend some time with me. And, I think we'll definitely do this again. And I'm just thankful for you. I'm thankful for everything you stand for and what you're working hard to do. So thanks for coming in. And with that, we'll see you in about a week. Have a great day.